go to another Wi-Fi, so I might be a couple minutes disconnecting, but the webinar will still be up. Nama is home in the background. Thank you, Nama, from our unit at her home in central Israel, and she's going to be doing the back office nonstop. If Tamara has to leave and there's enough time, take her at least 20 minutes to go to the shelter, wait for the all clear signal, uh, and come back. So if there's not enough time afterwards, so if that happens, we might lose you for a minute or two, but I will be back and talk a little bit about what's going on, and especially how busy SPNI has been in the last 48 hours. We had an executive board meeting today, an executive staff meeting today, and just the amount of activities that have been going on with the people in SPNI that are defined as essential employees for the economy in our field schools and in our Moked Teva, the nature call center. Uh, we've been doing a lot. In fact, there's hundreds of soldiers right now already in our field schools. Many of you will recall that from the October 7th period, where the Army just called up 120,000 soldiers in the last 48 hours, and they all need places to sleep. They don't always have room on the bases, so that's just one of the things that's been going on in SPNI. Very proud of our efforts in the national effort. Anyway, Tamara, the Dead Sea. Let's hear all about it. Thank you so much for being here, especially this kind of evening. And welcome all of the
Okay.
guests. Oh my God, we're 150 people. So amazing. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Jay, so much, and thank you all the people out there for joining. Yeah, the context is a little bit strange to be sitting here in the center of Tel Aviv. You see the Midbar Yehuda, the Judea desert behind me, but actually, it's not exactly the area that we're going to talk about. It's another desert. But this is not what I'm sitting now in the center of Tel Aviv. And as Jay said, if there is and like an alarm, I'll have to leave and I'll leave you with Jay. Hopefully, we'll have 1 hour without alarms. I do have to say that in the last 24 hours, we've been having alarms like almost every hour. But we hope to have some quieter time. Um, just again to give you the context, we've been working from home since yesterday. Like Israel is not really functioning as normal, but we do still work. And as Jay said, in Society for Protection of Nature, some people are really essential and are working full times in the field school. So we are kind of continuing our general work, but also doing a very dedicated work for the situation. So this is where we are. So in the places where we try to keep on with our normal work in life, we are in the middle of a really important campaign about the Dead Sea and the Jordan River, and this is what we're going to talk about today. So we'll kind of disconnect for a few minutes from the reality and drive to the desert. Let me share with you. We'll share this one. Okay, and I know I don't think it is this one. 1 second. I'll put it in. I will share that one. Really. Okay, so the Dead Sea. You probably know know about it something, everybody. Um, Let me just get, yeah. And what we're going to talk about today is not, we'll say a few words generally about the Dead Sea, but what we're going to talk about today is especially is about the current situation of the Dead Sea as it dries up, and why now there is an opportunity to make a shift, to change the policy that has been in place in the last several decades, and change kind of and shift the way the Dead Sea is gonna head to. What you see here, I don't know why the picture is not very is not good enough, but as you can see here, the Dead Sea originally had a northern basin and a southern basin, which was all of it was the Dead Sea. However, all this southern part of it, during the last 50 years, 30, 40, 50 years dried up completely. So today, what is left of the Dead Sea is only this dark part that you see here since 1989, the picture from 1989. This is the original Dead Sea. And what's today the southern part of the Dead Sea, which is now, which you can see here as a lighter blue with some lines in it. This is actually some an artificial part of the sea. What happens here is that the factories, the Dead Sea Works that are in the southern part of the Dead Sea, they are pumping water from the northern part, and they are and they kind of drop them in these pools, and this is how they produce the minerals, which is what we're going to talk about today. And so all this part in the southern part, where all the hotels are, by the way, if you go there, you probably wouldn't know that this is not a real sea. Today is already totally artificial pools, and so the sea is shrinking and is disappearing every year. And this is kind of what we're working to mitigate, maybe even to stop, and that's what we're going to talk today about. So, uh, okay, just some orientation. As you again probably know, the Dead Sea is the eastern border of Israel. Where is we have the eastern border of Israel. If we start from the north, in the Golan Heights, we get to the southern point of the Sea of Galilee. And from it, we can follow the Jordan River. And the Jordan River, in most part, is actually the border, not all of it. In the northern part, just under south of the Kinneret of the Sea of Galilee, the Jordan River is still all in the Israeli side. But then later, a few kilometers away, it started to be the border between Israel and Jordan. Um, since it is the border, it is very much controlled by the armies, both armies. What most of us know about the Jordan River is only small parts, which are closer to the Sea of Galilee, to the Kinneret. But most of the Jordan River is actually a border with army that is controlling it, not very easy to reach, and that gets all the way down to the Dead Sea. In the last part, it's part of the Palestinian Authority. It's under the control of the Palestinian Authority, so it's not even the exact border with Jordan. And then it gets to the Dead Sea, and in the middle of the Dead Sea, we see the line that is the border between Israel and Jordan. And in both sides, there are pretty much similar activities that we'll talk about now in a second. So this is where we are, and as again most of you know, it is the lowest point of Earth. It is sitting more than 430 meters below sea level. It is very, very salty lake. Its water are nearly 10 times saltier than the normal water that you'd feel in the ocean. It is very rich with minerals, magnesium, potassium, and brine, and of course the minerals that are taken by the factories. And the minerals are also very considered. Some of the minerals are also considered very therapeutic, together with the special sunscreening in this very low point. It is considered to be very healthy place for all kind of disease. And as I just say, it's the final destination of the Jordan River. So it's actually the end of a very important basin. The Jordan River basin ends at the Dead Sea. The water doesn't flow out of it either at the end of at the southern part of the Dead Sea. And this is the border between those countries. So what's happening in the Dead Sea? During the last few decades, as I said, the sea has been under crisis. What is happening there are several processes. One thing is that the water from the Jordan River are not flowing. Most of them are not flowing into the Dead Sea since the 60s. Um, in the beginning of the 60s, major dams were built to supply water for both Israel in the beginning, and then a dam that is the Degania Dam, and then in the Jordanian side also the King Abdallah Dam, and both of them are taking most of the water from the Jordan River, from the Yarmouk River. Those are the rivers that supply water into the Dead Sea. About 90% of those water are now taken to supply water for society, for agriculture, for drinking water. For many years, these were the water that we've been using in Israel and in Jordan. These are still very important water. So not much water are flowing into the Dead Sea from the Jordan River. And on the other hand, we have plants, factories, the Dead Sea Works, which are two factories. We have again the Israeli factories and the Jordanian factories, which pump out water from the Dead Sea to and then evaporate them. So the water are disappearing in even greater phase. The result of that is that about 700 million, between 700 and 800 million cubic meters of water are depleted every year from the Dead Sea. That is a huge amount of water, and that causes the sea level of the Dead Sea to decrease more than a meter every year. So you can imagine, as you can see in this, what you see in this picture is around En Gedi, which just got alarms I saw, around just in front of, under the kibbutz En Gedi, where there used to be a very nice resort to come to put some mud on your skin, very famous Hamei En Gedi, and the sea was just beneath this facility. Now you can see that it like tens of meters away, further away, the sea is the sea level is decreasing and the sea itself is shrinking. So the coastline is getting narrower and narrower, and then the facilities that were used to be on the beach are losing the sea. So they used to start to try to chase the sea every year until at a certain point they stopped and they just left everything there. And if you go there today, you'll see that those facilities are just neglected. They're just standing there, totally broken, very far away from the sea. The sea has lost about 40% of the surface area since the establishment of Israel, more or less the late 40s, and mostly since the 60s, which is when the dams started to work and the factories started to work even stronger. So this is the situation today. Now, we are now going to talk a little bit about the industrial work that it is, because as I said, one part of the reason is the Jordan River, and we have to take care of that. We have to think how to solve that problem. But the other problem is that there are factories that are working there, pumping up water, huge amount of water, and they let this water evaporate, and they do not uh, bring them back to the northern part. So they just kind of losing water. And they are responsible to about third of the sea level decreasing. So that is pretty much a big amount only for industrial, for economic purposes. And they work, the plants there, the Dead Sea Works are working there based on a concession that they received from the state by law. It is called the Dead Sea Law, and it was enacted in 1961. Now, these factories were built before 1961, actually, they were originally starting to work before the establishment of the State of Israel. Even they started to work late 30s. They got the first concession from the British Mandate, but then during the 1948 war, they found themselves at the Jordanian side. They stopped working, and they were reopened after the establishment of the state. And during the 50s, they were struggling to reopen and work, and they were nationalized at this point. Even though the original factories were private, they became national company. And as a national company, they got a specific law that enabled them to do whatever they need to do in order to exploit the sea and to take the minerals from them for industrial purposes. So in 1961, this law was enacted, the Dead Sea Law, and again, since it was a national company, the law was extremely broad and in favor of the industrial activity of the works. We also have to remember that at that time, the new state is trying to establish as much as possible industry and infrastructure. So there was a very great incentive to allow a broad kind of law. And indeed, this law allowed the factories to do whatever they need to do in order to extract those minerals. That means to pump up water, to dig in all the surrounding, to take water from the underground, from the sea and from the underground, to use all the soil and land. Actually, the words of this law are saying that they are even allowed to ruin everything there in order to extract these minerals from the Dead Sea. And indeed, this is what these factories have been doing ever since. There were no limits on the amount of water that they are allowed to pump from the water. There were very minimal environmental standard or duties or oversight over during this time. And the whole management was very much designated and aiming for the financial purpose of it, which again may have made was making sense in the original, but when years went by, few things happened. First of all, damages started to occur. And those damages are, as we said, the decreasing of the level of the sea level, and also all the surrounding started to totally change the way it looked. You probably heard about the sinkhole that started to appear all around the coastline. This happened to the roads to collapse, and facilities too, and buildings, and all these kind of small resorts that were there, just to fall into those sinkholes. The sinkholes are the result of the drying up of the Dead Sea, and this changed the whole environment of this area. The other important thing that happened is that the factories, which were national company, became private. They were privatized during the 90s and turned to be a private company of the Chevra Israel, owned by private family, which is today ICL. The control in this company is ICL, which is again a private-owned company. So moving from a national company to private, from the desire to establish and exploit and build infrastructure for a new state, to an area that is starting to look like a disaster, drying up. Everything is starting to be ruined around it. All the beaches, the coastline, you cannot reach, you cannot get there. It's not accessible because of the sinkhole. So we are very far away from the place where we were when this law was enacted. And so this brings us to today. What happens today, again, if you heard about the Dead Sea, you'd probably know that everything that I'm talking about is not new. The sinkholes are started in the beginning of in the 2000 and something with the first sinkhole, so we already know about them for many years. The sea level decrease is not new also. This is, by the way, a very new sinkhole that you see here in the picture. We were there last week, and that like a very fresh sinkhole with the fresh water. We were touring around with the geologists that showed us some places which you cannot reach because it's all very dangerous to tour around, and you cannot get any insurance if you would like to tour there. Um, but so these are not new. And then you could ask yourself, okay, so why now? What's new now? So what is new now is that the concession for those factories for the Dead Sea work is going to end up. It ends up in 2030. That may sound far away, but it's not far away. It's actually around the corner because it's a huge concession. It's a huge legal action to prepare to. And the government actually has been preparing for it for several years already. Because when the concession ends, when this permits for them to work ends in 2030, the situation is pretty complex. There are two options of what's going to happen in 2030 when the concession ends. One option is that the state of Israel decides not to allow, not to give not to allocate another concession, but just to end up everything and to shut down the factories. If Israel was to do that, if the government was to do that, that would mean that that the government would have to buy all the facilities itself from the owners. That is according to the law. That's what the law says. Because they invested in it, of course, for many years. And so if the government decides to shut it down, they would have to buy these facilities back. That is a very expensive thing. It's about, I'll say in a few minutes how much is it, but it was very surely and clear that the Ministry of Finance would not want to get into that situation that the government is going to pay billions for this facility. The other option is that the government would allocate a new concession, and this is what actually the government decided to do. And in order to allocate a new concession, you need a new bid. It's a very big bid. It's a very long process to work with and to prepare, and that's why the Ministry of Finance already published a new bill just a couple of months ago. It's been in the pipeline for about 2 years. We've been hearing about that it's going to be published soon. And in last December, the new bill was published for public comments. I've been saying a few times that it is the Ministry of Finance, and you might ask yourself, why is it the Ministry of Finance? And indeed, every law, every bill that is enacted is under the responsibility of a specific ministry. And the Dead Sea law is under the responsibility of the Ministry of Finance. And that also could bring some question, how can it be? But this is the situation. Because the government has been seeing the Dead Sea, for many decades as a pure financial resource. And that is why also the environmental aspects are so poor. Now, I have to say that during the last couple of decades, the environmental review and enforcement has been a little bit better, but still it's very, very poor. And one of the reasons is that it's all managed by the Ministry of Finance. So the new bill is our unique opportunity. It was, as I said, it was published in December. We had to submit our comments during January. We submitted them. We went to present them in the for the Ministry of Finance, and we're now waiting for it to get to the discussion in the parliaments. We don't know when that's going to happen, but this is a very crucial opportunity because now we can try to make a new concession with new conditions, which would not see the Dead Sea only as a financial resource, but also as an environmental nature, as a very unique nature and environmental wonder that we all know it is. And by saying that, we don't say that we're going to shut down the factories. We're saying that we have to start look at it from a win-win situation. Otherwise, we're going to keep losing water, and the sea level is going to continue to decrease. We're going to have a total ecological collapse, which we already see. And the ecological collapse is not only about the Dead Sea, but also the Jordan River part of it. As I said, it's the same. It's part of the same basin, and we're going to see more and more sinkholes, which makes the whole area just not accessible. So we cannot even enjoy the beautiful views that the sinkhole present because they are beautiful, but you can't reach there. So we have to start looking differently. And this is the opportunity. The next concession is going to decide and going to set the rules for the next 20 or 30 years. So if we do not succeed, we're not successful in changing now the situation, we're going to have another 20, 30 years of, struggling and battling something that is going to be very difficult. So what are we trying to achieve now? When we first got the bill that they published a couple of months ago, we were kind of in shock because we saw several drafts of this bill and they were all, they had many problems, but they were also, there were some good stuff in there. And when we eventually saw the bill, it was like the worst version that we could imagine. And why is that? First of all, the bill is kind of continuing the situation of managing the Dead Sea by the Ministry of Finance and even strengthening the power of the Ministry of Finance over the Dead Sea. Instead of kind of establishing something that is much more balanced, it just enhance and strengthen the same situation in which the financial interest is the only interest that is actually being addressed. So that's a major problem in the law, and where one of the major comments that we made is that the management must be much more balanced. We must have the Ministry of Finance, of Tourist, of Agriculture, of Water, the municipalities and the regional authorities there. All these kind of actors must be involved in managing. We cannot leave it only in the hand of the Ministry of Finance, which is what the bill is suggesting now. The other thing is that there is still no caps on the extraction of water and that are taken from the Dead Sea. It might sound amazing, but until today, the factor is it's not only that they could take as much water as they wanted, they didn't even have to pay for it. Now in the new bill, there are costs for the water. There is cost for the water, which is a good step, but there are no binding caps. And also this the cost of that they're going to pay for the water is not aimed to rehabilitate or to bring water back into the sea. The cost and the fines or the price for the water that are going to be extracted goes to the general budget, the general state budget, which means that no financial resource are gonna be found for rehabilitation of the Dead Sea, which is why our main main demand, our main ask from this bill, and the main thing that we're gonna fight for is that the bill itself, the law itself, will include a restoration fund, a very clear establishment of fund, which will be financed by some of the money and the taxes that the factories are paying, because they do pay, of course, taxes and all kind of governmental takes. So some of it should be colored, especially for restoration and rehabilitation of the Jordan River and the Dead Sea, especially. So those are kind of our main demands for changing the changes that we want to see in the bills when it gets into the parliament. So what are we doing about it? Let me see. I'm not looking at the question now, but I promise to look at it in a few minutes when I end the slides. What are we doing about it? So first of all, I must say it's a very difficult battle, as you could imagine, because we are not only facing the Ministry of Finance, which very much cares about the the government income, which is okay. That's their job. They are responsible for making sure enough money is getting in. Um, but putting aside the fact that they did not do their job for many years, and the Dead Sea Works did not pay really the whole amount of taxes that they should have, this is a problem that we are kind of where we're in a conflict with the Ministry of Finance, but we are also in a very much fight with the industry itself. And as you know, fighting with those very, very powerful and resourceful factories is a very tough battle. So this is where we're standing. We have to put a lot of pressure on the decision makers, and this is our major kind of channel of operation. That's the main way that we're going to try to make a difference. We're already meeting, of course, with elected officials, ministries, everybody that could be part of the assistant. We are sitting in parliament committees that are relevant. We will, of course, be speaking, especially in the committee that is going to discuss the bill itself. We're not sure when it's going to be. It could be in May or in June. If not, it's going to be in the next parliament after election, probably. So we're kind of we're kind of fighting a battle that we're not sure about the timeline and schedule. But that is a major thing that we're going to do. We want to get to those discussions in the committee with a petition that is signed by many, many, many people. I'm going to talk about the petition in a second. But pressuring makers is, one of the most important work that we do now. We are calling and trying to bring as much public engagement as we can. We're creating and we're joining public events like marathon runs, and we're going to have a festival in Passover during the Passover vacation of tour around and talks, lectures, all kind of activities around the Dead Sea. If you happen to be here in Passover, that's the place you want to be. It's going to be in the beginning of April. We're doing all kind of webinars. We have the field school in Engedi, which is kind of bringing also the youngsters to be part of our campaign. Of course, media, we're trying to bring in as much as articles, op-eds, interviews, radio, TV, social medias, of course, as much as possible. We have a big campaign, which is again focused on this petition that I'm going to speak about. And we are collaborating with other organizations. We have a very strong coalition with 5 other environmental organizations. We are 6 organizations together. So we put all our efforts together. both like the sources and to creating the messages and the campaign. Everything is done together, which is a very, very fruitful collaboration. We have great collaboration with academia. We have several experts that are joining us when we need them for parliament discussion and for letters to the government. And of course, we kind of bring in as much as we can other partners to collaborate with. And I'm gonna now talk a couple of minutes about this petition, because that's the way that you can also be part of it. So we've decided it's the whole thing of the Dead Sea and the bill and concession. It's pretty difficult to kind of recruit people and to explain them everything. So many messages. We've got into this conclusion that the most important thing that we could get from this law is if we could create this fund, which would be the first financial resource to rehabilitate and restore the Dead Sea. So we've prepared a petition that is all about that, all about creating a new fund in the new concession law, dedicated restoration fund for the Dead Sea. We have it on this website, savethedeadsea.co.il. We have it in English, Hebrew and English, so you can just get in and sign. And we hope to get to the parliament discussion. Sorry, something happened here. With at least 20 or 30,000 signatures. We believe that if we're going to get there, show with the ability to show that there is a big mass of people behind us that signs this petition, it's going to be strong. It's going to be a strong demand to bring. The other thing that we, of course, are happy to have is funding for this fight. For this fight, and again, a lot of the funding is going to mainly for this petition, but of course, not only because, as I said, we have many events in which we try to get the public engaged and understand what's going on and be part of it. So you are very welcome to get into this page and sign the petition. After you sign the petition, the next very important thing that you could do is share it and just bring more people to be aware of the fact that this is the moment to act. Because as I said, this is the year in which the new concession is going to be created. And that's going to set the rules for the next 20 or 30 years. And that's why it's very crucial to start now. There's a lot of work to do when we talk about restoration of the Dead Sea. Definitely, if we're talking about restoration of the Jordan River and the Dead Sea, but this has to start at a certain moment. Up until today, the government never decided that it's going to do any restoration or conservation of this area. There is no such a decision. This is the point where we think, okay, now we have to make the government decide that the Dead Sea is unique and important enough to be restored. And together with all the other interests that we have in the region, this is the time to decide that we start with this rehabilitation and restoration of the sea. So thank you very much. I'm gonna take off the share and look at some question. Jay, feel free to interrupt and say,
Well, I was going to maybe feed you the questions. It'll be easier anyway.
okay.
Thank you very much, Tamara. Amazing, amazing presentation. Learned so much. As you say, it's not a simple message or easy to digest. The word concession brought up some questions. It's a concession. It's from between the government and a private company, but it is essentially a very complex contract, essentially a business contract that the government grants, like a tender to one specific provider. And a lot of questions. Let me try to group a couple of them for you, if that's okay. First of all, questions about the cosmetics industry of the Dead Sea. Is that a problem? And are there companies that should be boycotted? Do we have a list of such companies? And I would say include in that, any of the extraction companies. Is that a thing that we're doing?
Okay, so that's a good question. First of all, the cosmetic is kind of the smaller part.
Yeah.
The main company that is extracting the water is ICL is the one that
Israel
it's not the
Chemicals.
cosmetic one.
Israel Chemicals.
Right, Israel
ICL.
Chemicals. Yes. Right,
Israel
right.
Chemical
Israel
Industries,
Chemicals.
like, yeah. Or limited, Israel Chemistry
Now,
Limited.
right. Now, the other thing is that, we could fight and boycott the company, but they are getting their license. As you said, they were granted this license from the government. So we believe that it's, first of all, important that the government would grant a permit, a license that is a good one. Because, if you are
Right.
a private business and you get a permit to work, you're doing the best for your business. The question is, what are the conditions? What are the rules
Right.
and what are that the government grants? So our major fight is how this concession and how this granted permit is going to be designed. So we're not calling to boycott anyone. I mean, you could, but this is not
Excellent. Thank you.
what's gonna help
Tomorrow we have
us.
a lot of questions, so we'll do this kind of rapid fire. But that is a complex area and a good answer. It's really about the government, not about the company in this case. Not that we're in love with the company. What's with the Red Sea to Dead Sea Canal? Where does that stand?
So that's been the idea like many years ago, but it's been left us after 20 years of working on it. I believe now it's nobody talks about it. It's very expensive and it requires the cooperation of Jordan and Israel. And right now we don't have the political will. We might have it in the future, but right now it's not on the table.
And would we be interested in trying that if there was political will, in the era of
Um,
peace that is soon upon us?
Yeah, the solutions for how to bring back water, they could come from the Red Sea or from the Med Sea in Mediterranean or from the Jordan River. We believe that the best would be from the Jordan River.
Of
That's the
course.
natural way from the Jordan River. So that's what we would kind of root
That's
for.
our push. That's as I
Right, right,
expected.
right.
Thank you very
From the
much. Yeah,
dead, it's more complex.
both of these ideas, and the Red Sea to the Med Sea, of course, doesn't require Jordan, and that's something that environmentalists have not been really in favor of for a long time. Um, uh, is there a fence on either side or the center of the Jordan River at the border with Jordan? How do wildlife? And I know there's a fence in the middle of the river, but there are fences on both sides. And no man's land on both sides as well, like double fenced. What does that mean for wildlife other than
Okay,
birds?
so that's an important question because so there are fences, as you said, on the sides, not in the Jordan. It means that some of these areas are very much neglected and polluted, but others are actually a potential for restoration because they're kind of a no man land and
No, right,
we're
right.
not touched. But there is one more important thing that when we're calling to rehabilitate the Jordan River and have more water flow from there, today it's going to also strengthen the border. So now we start to hear a little bit of interest from the army. How can we make a natural border again? Because today the Jordan River is very dried up and very narrow. If we make it alive again, it's going to also be a natural, stronger border. But right now
Cool.
there are fences and they're going to actually strengthen the fences. So that's another thing that we have to fight
Right,
against.
right, right. Some wildlife gets through and a lot doesn't. And that's why Israel's ecological
Exactly.
corridors go north-south and not so
Yeah.
much east-west.
Yes, the whole Jordan River and the Dead Sea is a crucial ecological corridor.
Right. And there are places where, and is a trickle of itself. You didn't mention it, but we know from Guy Sally and our unit that works with the IDF that they've navigated, explored the Jordan River from the Kinneret to the Dead Sea. It's not navigable by kayak in many places.
In
It's a
some part.
trickle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should have another
And
webinar
parts
only
of it
on the
are like
Jordan River
no
because
man's land where biodiversity has
that's a
thrived. So there's
fascinating
that.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. What is under the Dead Sea and its environs? And did the sinkholes occur because the aquifers are drying up?
No, so the sinkhole occurred because of the shrinking of the because of drying up of the Dead Sea itself. What happened is that the water that the salty water are taking it away from the ground when the sea shrinks because of the human activities, the sea shrinks, then the salty water are taken away, and what is left is only sweet water, and they are kind of melting the ground there, and then the ground collapse in a very, very general explanation. So it's not because of the aquifer, it's because because of the drying up of the Dead
Of
Sea.
the sea
That
itself. Oh,
of the sea itself, that causes the sinkhole. The first part of the question I didn't
what
get,
is under the Dead Sea is the question.
like in the south part or
Yeah, and its
underneath.
environment. I don't know. I don't know if that's a geological
Underneath,
question or.
it's layers of salty water and then other kind of rocks with I'm not sure exactly which.
Mhm. Are there sinkholes on the Jordanian side?
Yes, actually there are, but less because Jordanian side is a little it's all the Jordanian side is steeper and so there's like it's a little bit different. It's the surrounding are not as shallow as in our part, but there are sinkholes there. Yes,
And I'm
Jay.
just interjecting my own question, and maybe I missed it, but you said that we blame about a third of the shrinkage of the Dead Sea is because of the extraction companies, and I know the big chunk of it is the lack of flow from the Jordan River. Isn't there a third thing in there from the pie chart, as I recall?
That
Climate change?
actually, no, the evaporation, yes,
That
evaporation of water. What happened is like, you have water coming in and then some of the water evaporate. That's the normal situation. Now we have no water coming in, only evaporation and some water are taking away.
right,
So this is what causing. So the evaporation is the third, which is stronger because of climate change. But
right.
this is not the major issue.
Right, right. Cool. Okay. So all of that, so the company, so ICL that's made so much money for the last 30 years, are we making a demand or is there any consideration that they will be part of even if they don't get the future concession, will they be part of the helping to restore the damage that they did
So
financially?
this is definitely something that we are demanding because in the future we're going to have to face two things. The new owners of the new owner of the factories, it might be ICL or another. And also we are going to need to rehabilitate everything that happened during the years that ICL has been working there. So yes, definitely they must be responsible and liable for all the damages that they have been created so far.
Okay, so our relations with Jordan on this topic. We used to have a somewhat warm peace. We have a very cold peace with them now. It is a peace, thank God, but it's a cold peace. Are we collaborating with them at all on this issue?
So yes and no. Formally, right now, it's very difficult to discuss to make this discussions, but we do have, but not formally. Yes, both the armies are in a very, very strong collaboration, and also we have one of the collaboration that I talked about that we have like we're collaborating with other organizations. One group is actually Jordanian, Palestinian, and Israel sitting together. Civil organizations are cooperating. It's not easy, but it's happening. So we do very much hope that once the political situation improves, we do have the infrastructure and the people that we know and the relationship. So yes.
And with the Palestinians?
We're talking also with the Palestinians that it's much more difficult there, of course. But in with the Jordanian side, we have it's easier. But yes, we will need to have also cooperation with them, and we're sitting in those groups together also with Palestinians.
And is Echo Peace part one of the six organizations that are part of this
Definitely,
collaboration?
yes,
Yes.
yes. EcoPeace is part of our cooperation. Our Vine Institute is part of our cooperation, and all the more
Right.
active
Well, the Echo Peace
organizations.
is special. It's an organization threefold. It has offices both in Israel, in Jordan, and in the Palestinian Authority. So
Right,
that's
right,
that's
right.
that's a positive sign. Okay. Um, the right address for the petition, we're going to be mailing that to everybody on our mailing list in coming days, I believe, according to our communication schedule. And we'll be sending it more than once. I think it'll be kind of a permanent box on our mails for a while. And we will definitely make sure that everybody has a chance to sign the petition. Um, Okay, many questions in the chat. Broader picture of how to resolve the sea. Okay, we'll try to do that. But giving people at Brighton Q&A, sorry, I didn't mention that, but that is usually easier. Is there a Jordanian company doing the same thing on the other side, by the way? I mean,
Yes, there is, and they're responsible for a little bit less than our companies. So basically, when we're talking about the industry, it's both Israelis and Jordanian. Yes, there
oh,
is factories in Jordan. They're owned
so
by the king,
so Israeli industry is only maybe 20% of the problem?
something
Because,
like that. Yes.
okay.
2025, maybe 25, the
Okay.
Israelis and
And by the
15.
way, and did I remember correctly that I've heard maybe in one of your webinars that the land granted in that concession is 3% of the land of Israel. It
Yeah,
extends kilometers beyond the Dead Sea. And there they are also attempting mining unrelated to the
right.
Dead Sea itself. They have a mining pilot project in the works, which we
Right,
are
right.
definitely opposing.
Which is part of what we also ask in the new
Right.
concession not to have such a huge amount of land. Right now, they are actually owning 3% of the land of Israel around this sea. So, yes, in the next concession, they'll probably have much less.
So you mentioned how polluted the Jordan River is, and theoretically, I guess if it's flowing at all, so is the Dead Sea. How much of that pollution is from agriculture and pesticides and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so most of the pollution doesn't get to the Dead Sea because the Dead Sea gets only maybe 6 or 7% from the water in Jordan. The pollution is coming from agriculture. A lot of pollution is coming from agriculture, and then some of it from sewage from Jordan, and also a little bit from Israel. But most of the sewage is coming from Jordan.
Okay.
Agricultural pollution, fish ponds pollution. Yeah, those are the major one. We're actually now working on mapping the resource of pollution of the Jordan River and alternative for solution and cleaning.
Okay. Is the Jordan Company concession up coincidentally anytime soon or unrelated to us?
The Jordan
The
what?
concession of the
Ah,
country of Jordan to its company, or they're just the
um,
government? Is it just the government in Jordan that does it?
it's the royals there.
It's
Yes,
the
it's
royal family, of course.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So they're
So it's
they're
not
they're
coming to an end, but I can say that when we're talking to the Jordanian, and they also care about having the Dead Sea somehow restored and taken care of. It's not that it's not of interest for them, so they're very much willing to talk and think together about it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We have a lot of questions. A lot of them repeat. Um, I think we've talked about Jordan.
Bringing back, I saw here somebody asking about the factors bringing back the water after they use them. So again, much of the water is are evaporated. They could bring them back if they were incentivized to do that. So that's again one of the things that we're asking. Okay, let's put either limits or price or somehow make sure that the factories are using only the minimal amount that they actually need and bring back as much as they can. They don't do that today. They do bring back some of the water today also, but they lose lots of water on the way. So that's another thing that we ask for.
Okay. Well, we're basically at the top of the hour. A minute or two left. If there's any, I mean, I feel I'm missing some questions. A whole discussion about
We have,
fracking.
I will say now that we have also a lot of educational activities that we're actually now building. We have trips there. We have, as I said, in the field, in the field school, we have trips that are going around and they're talking about that too. So we do have educational activity, not enough. We're raising money and working on establishing more educational activity there.
Hmm. Yes, Nama has been asked to save the chat. I think we always do that. And there are a lot of questions. If we haven't gotten to them, please let us know. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Tamara, I surprised we got this done. As you can see, by the way, I'm already transitioning into Purim.
Yeah,
Tomorrow
you
is Erev
are.
Purim,
By
and
the way, I put my email there because if anybody want to send me questions, you're very much welcome. Tamara L at SPNI. If not to Jay, you're very welcome also
or
to.
or through us, we're happy to do it. But
Oh,
you know,
link to the petition. Yes, I'm gonna put here link to the petition. That's
yeah,
a
we
good
did put a
idea.
link. There is a link
Ah,
already
okay.
Nama put up, but yes, that'll be on our website, and like I said, we will communicate that by email. Make sure you sign it. I'll just mention we have a lot of people visiting Israel soon. Well, I guess that kind of just ended, but if this war is quick, and we're back. The spring is so beautiful here. Everything is green. We just had a company-wide webinar today where we saw some of the beautiful fields of reds and blues in the Negev and in the western Negev region. So, our wetlands rewilding project is going on in the Jordan Valley, on the Jordan River, and at Magan Michael on the coast. The birds are in peak migration and really not to be missed. What I wanted to say was, if anybody's coming anyway, please be in touch with us, and we'll show you. And if you want to learn more about the Dead Sea, we are here. Nama, thank you very much for being here. I'm so glad we got through this, and uh, I appreciate very much everybody's engagement and participation. You guys are great with your questions. Many of you, it's so great to see you here so often and so engaged. It's true of our board members and so many of you out there all over the world. I don't know, Tamara, if you know, we also had Norway involved and all over
Netherlands, I saw Netherlands, I saw, yeah,
the
so
Netherlands and France and yeah, all over Israel and all over North America. So thank you guys very much. Chag Sameach, and may we all have a very quiet night and quick end to these particular hostilities. Dan had a good line today. You know, the last Iranian war was
12 days.
Am Kelavi. I don't
Yeah.
know how they translated that in English. The nation is a lioness, and now it's the lion roars. I think a female lion and a male lion. Dan says there are several other synonyms in Hebrew for lion, and he hopes they're not planning a war for every one of them, because there's a couple
Yeah.
more at least, I think, in the Bible. So, kfir. So anyway, guys, thanks so much. Nama, thanks, Tamara. Thank you very much, and quiet night to everybody. Laila Tov, Chag Sameach. Good afternoon, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.